that's your diet and lifestyle, you are set up to be as hungry as you possibly can. So when I was in powerlifting, I still am in powerlifting, but I used to compete as a 74 kilo lifter, right? And so I've done about 3 gruesome cuts to make weight for comps. And towards the end of those cuts, when I'm dropping kilos, the appetite is just so brutal, And for some of these cuts, I would get shredded. And so it was awful. No way around it. And all right, I'm going to be vulnerable about what I'm about to say because, well, this is men's health, right? I'm a man and we should be more open about what happens when we get to being extremely lean. But I got so depleted and so lean on some of these competitions, I would literally have erectile dysfunction. I'm 17, right? Shredded out of your mind, tricep veins, striated glutes, just looking like a freak, right? With ED. And I can tell you why that is. That's due to estrogen and testosterone. But that's how lean I got. And so from my experience, this is some of the best ways that I've dealt with appetite. And you're like, whoa, that's a terrible story. Why the hell would you share all that? Well, the reason being is I think it's a good idea to understand, I have experience with appetite. And so these are some genuine strategies which I've found to be very effective. And so, yeah, let's get straight into it, right? I'm going to start by reverse engineering what makes us hungry. So just tell me the strategies. Well, hear me out. We have 2 powerful signals that make us hungry. So we have hormonal and chemical signals. So this is from our body fat produces a chemical called leptin. And the more leptin we have, assuming we're sensitive to it, the less hungry we are is a general baseline. And then you have things like ghrelin, which signal being full. So after a meal, ghrelin often gets released. And then we also have insulin and glucose and things like that. There's all chemical signals for hunger, right? So they're important. How can we manage those chemical signals? And then we also have our attention and focus. If you're sitting on the couch, right, and you're just doing nothing, you're going to be one hungry guy, especially if you're dieting, because all you're going to do is think about food. But if you're super immersed into a video game, not as clear to me that you'll be as hungry. So those are the 2 powerful signalers for hunger. It's the hormonal changes and then where your attention is. Ashton, what is the best recipe for uncontrolled hunger? Well, poor sleep, because sleep affects the hormones, low protein intakes, low fiber, and highly processed foods. If that's your diet and lifestyle, you are set up to be as hungry as you possibly can. It's just how it is. So this is worst scenario. Keep that in mind when I give out these tips, which I'm about to present. So, if you're completely immersed into a video game, time goes very quickly. And let's take the focus away from food, and so that we can reduce the time that we think about food, right? Does that make sense? And so if you're in a situation where you're super immersed into something, you're not going to be thinking about food as much, as opposed to, let's say, laying in bed on your phone. You might be more hungry than if you were, let's say, walking or going outside or talking with friends. And so this is a key point. When we're left to sit to think about food, the feelings about food are going to probably multiply. And so, again, keep this in mind. So when it comes to actually eating, this is how we can structure our diet to basically be as full as we possibly can. So high protein, higher than the maximum muscle cutoffs even. So I'm talking higher than 2 grams per kilogram. If you start eating, let's say 1.4 to 1.6, boom, you're in a great range for muscle and you'll be way more full. No doubt about it. But if you're cutting, you've just got to ramp up the protein because protein intake releases ghrelin. And ghrelin is a hormone which makes us feel full. So all else equal, more protein in your diet will likely result in you being more full. So if you're like deep into a cut, maybe it's time to sacrifice some of your other macronutrients for more protein. Something to keep in mind. And so fiber is another option. So fiber actually slows down digestion, and that produces more chewing as well, because high fiber foods are very voluminous for the amount of calories. And higher food volume can kind of trick your body into thinking you've got more calories. So why would we want to slow down digestion? So insulin is like my favorite hormone ever. I just love it. It's just so cool. But the thing is, when blood glucose is really low, what happens is that signals for hunger. And so if you eat, right, your blood sugar increases, insulin comes in, puts the blood sugar where it should go, and then you're back to hungry if there's nothing left to shuttle. And so, well, guess what? Like, if you're slowing down that process, slowing down the digestion, that particular chemical hunger signal can actually decrease because it's just not happening as often. And so that's an option to consider as well. I think it's a powerful option because fiber has been independently also been shown to reduce hunger. So that's a key point. And so another option is to eat more low fat. And so you prioritize carbohydrates. Hang on, didn't I just talk about how insulin has like positive effects or negative effects potentially when it comes to hunger? So then why am I suggesting to eat more carbohydrates and lower fats? Well, it gives you more calorie room for high fiber carbohydrates. So like, think about this. If you increase your carbs by 50 grams and all of it came from veggies and fruit and really satiating carbs like sweet potato, it might have a positive effect on hunger, even more so. And so that's something to consider as well. Another option I like to use is using sweeteners. Okay, I have another story. I was super depleted, super like run down. One of my favorite things in the entire world was no sugar Sprite. 0 calories, 0 caffeine. Oh, this stuff was just like, it was next level. I'm being 100% serious with you. Like, I would crack the can and be like, tss. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like it goes a tss, and then it goes, oh, like whenever you crack like any soda can. But for some reason, the Sprite, I was just so reminiscent of that noise. And you'd sip it, and it would just be, oh, the best flavor in the world. I was like, this is so good. Like, I honestly, no sugar Sprite, I am so nostalgic with it. And it's such a good drink. I should drink more of it. I haven't had a can since I've been like dieting. Probably because I'm not trying to reduce my hunger, right? And so, like, why would I use a sweetener? Thank you for your attention in this podcast. If you want to learn a bit more about FitBigStrong, we have an Instagram page where you can go check out. So if you head over to Instagram and type in FitBigStrong, it will take you to our page, and we post a lot of unique and fresh Instagram content in the form of reels. So 10 to 30 second short clips, which are straight to the point. If you want to head over there and support us by giving us a follow, hopefully we return the value with the type of content we produce. If that's something you're interested in, again, head over to Instagram, type in @FitBigStrong, and thank you in advance. Like, why would I use a sweetener? Well, you kind of like, when you're dieting, I don't know if you've had much experience. If you're watching this video, you've probably had like a decent experience to know that you randomly get like spikes of like cravings. You're just walking down the road, you think, damn, I could really go for a cheeseburger. And majority of the time, those cravings are like sweet foods or, oh God, what else is there? Usually like really quick junk food. And so, or salt. Salt is another one. And so like, you'll often be like reminiscing of like pizza with like a huge like milkshake. Like that's like just what happens when you diet. I'm sorry for dieting if I've put that image in your head. Maybe you can grab a non-sugar Sprite, because that actually might help you kick those cravings. So you're like, damn, I'm really craving something sweet. And you crack a can, you drink it, and then boom, problem solved, right? Like that can get me satiated and not thinking about, like, if I'm really dieting, that can work for like an hour. Like, not even joking. Especially if I drink it super slow with ice. Like, it's a good option. And so consider using sweeteners in some of your foods, sweeteners in your teas, non-sugar kind of drinks. They're all great options. And even gum. Like, gum is really good because it actually gives you that chewing sensation as well. And so it's like a combination of like the mouthfeel and the sweetness, which is really good. And you can kind of play with the gum in your mouth while you just do like regular life stuff. And it's kind of fun. And so that's an option. No one really talks about this hack, and I don't know why, but mouth sensations can be cool. So like ice cold water feels different to like normal water, and that's like a distracting. Or you could just chew like ice blocks. Like literally like get like a no calorie syrup and make like ice blocks and then just chew that. Like something about the mouth feel, it seems to like just be distracting and kind of satiate something. Because interestingly enough, if you're trying to make the most addictive junk food possible, you want a combination of high salt, high carb, high saturated fat, and then you also want to make it feel good in your mouth. And so if you can make something feel good in your mouth while having 0 calories, I'm not going to say that joke, but if you do that, you can potentially satiate a part of your body and kind of trick it into thinking it's okay. Even though you're dying of starvation slowly, but you got to make weight. And that's what keeps you going. And chewing gum. And caffeine-free, no sugar Sprite. So those are all options. Oh, another good example is like if you're going to choose between a burger patty or like beef jerky, you know, like it's going to take... Actually, no, that's a completely different topic. If I'm going to segue, random segue, I'm keeping this in the podcast because I try to keep it as raw as possible. If you had an option, like what is quicker to eat, a burger patty or beef jerky? So the burger patty, you can just like slam down, but the beef jerky, you've kind of got to work for the calories. And so that's another one. Make your calories hard to eat. Maybe you're going to play around with more drier food. Maybe beef jerky is a better substitute. If you're going to have any fats, maybe make it from like nuts, like that you actually literally have to peel open and eat, like non-salted, like super hard to get and low reward. Beef jerky might be a good option. But then again, it's not much food volume, so you've got to kind of create a ratio of like, okay, what's going to fill me up, but also what's going to be hard to eat. And so that's another hack to consider is like, how difficult is this food to eat? It's super easy to smash rice. It's a little bit harder to smash like crispy pieces of sweet potato. And so another option, which I think is like a really powerful hack in general, is as the hunger increases, decrease the flavor of your food. And so like less salt like is a good option as well. Even though like, because when you're craving salt and you have some salt, man, that salt tastes like extra salty in the best way possible. There's just no way around it. But if you decrease the salt a little bit, you still kind of get that salt kick with less salt. So why would you make your food like hyper palatable? Because like when you're bulking, to make that chicken and rice taste good, you'll add like smoked paprika, heaps of salt, pepper, butter, and then you're mixing like chicken thigh through it. Oh man, like that's how you get your chicken and rice down on a bulk. But when you're not bulking, it's like you might want to take out some of the butter. That might be the first thing, and add some more like cauliflower rice. And then you've gone into chicken breast, which is kind of dry. And then now it's like, okay, we've got to drop the salt a bit because it tastes too good, right? And we're going to make half of the rice veggies now, as well as the cauliflower. And so it's like, and now you've got like no salt. It's super fucking bland. It's hard to eat. It's like that meal is going to fill you up because it takes like 20 minutes to eat and it's not as good, right? And so that's an option as well. If you get lean enough though, that will taste pretty bussin'. So keep that in mind. Like these hacks are like little strategies to optimize what already sucks. It's like trying to polish a turd. Like dieting kind of sucks, but it doesn't need to be any harder than it has to. And so take all these with like a grain of salt. You're not going to have sweeteners and go, oh my God, I'm never hungry again. Like there's a reason why you're craving sweet food. So keep that in mind. This one is like really valuable, especially as you get super lean and sleep starts to become an issue. eat more of your fats closer to bed. This is going to slow down the digestion. And if you like eat a meal, it's digested in 3 hours and you're dieting, you'll wake up like hungry. And so if you can slow that down as much as possible, you might be able to increase the quality of your sleep. And if your sleep quality stays high, you have a better outcome in staying full. So for example, sleep raises cortisol and it also makes you less insulin sensitive. And it also does some other things with leptin and ghrelin. So like you're literally primed to feel like shit and be more hungry and feel bad about it. And so it's important that we keep our sleep quality as high as we possibly can when we diet. So it might be a strategy to eat more of your fats around bed so you keep your sleep good and you keep those hunger signals in check as much as you possibly can. And so like use diet like I mentioned earlier. To like using your diet will be a key way to optimize your sleep. Like play around with different macro ratios. You might want to do you might want to eat less calories in the day and then more calories at night. But you might not want to have so much fiber at night because maybe there's like a point where you just feel so full and you're rolling around in bed and or even like when you drink your no sugar Sprites. If it's like late at night and you've got cravings and you smash like 3 no sugar Sprites and you wake up to piss at night, like those are all things to consider. That's the section on dieting. Let's address attention. So I actually really think this is underutilized strategy and something that people just don't consider. Like it isn't just calories and diet hacks. Like during your cut, before you start your cut, set a goal which requires like a high level of immersion. So what I mean is like, for example, maybe your goal is to finish a 2,000 word puzzle. God, try finishing a 2,000 piece puzzle when you're dieted down. You'll be like it requires a lot of energy. You might not even have the energy, so pick a different goal. But the point is like, try and pick something which requires your attention, and if you don't give it your attention, it just won't happen. And so, like for example, maybe like you need to clean out and organize all your old clothes. Why don't you set that as a goal? So like every night, you dedicate 10 minutes and you go through your clothes and you create eBay listings and stuff like that. And so then that's an option. And just like, or finding highly immersive like leisure activities is a great way to forget your hunger. It's just brilliant. Like if you're balls deep into like a video game, it's like 2 hours have gone in, you're not hungry, you just jam into the video games, feels good. So that's an option as well. It's like, what are you doing with your spare time? And is that helping your hunger levels or not? Because the reality is when you're sitting on a couch, your body's looking for things to do. Like if you've been a teenager, it's like you're 14, you're sitting on a couch doing nothing, a couple things are going to happen, right? Either you're going to get up and go eat, you're going to play video games, or there's a third option. And so like your attention is just like, wow, but if I actually, or no, sorry, not me, I'm not talking about me here. If you just went outside and just like went for like a walk, maybe touch some grass, hang out with your homies, you probably won't be as hungry and you probably won't engage in those high dopamine activities because eating increases your dopamine. And when you're dieted, you're especially sensitive to that because it's like your body really, really, really wants to eat. And like let your closest friends know in advance that you're going on a diet. And so that if you decide to plan activities with them, it's not like bowling where you're surrounded by like hot dogs and like really good food. You kind of take yourself away from the environments which make food like super like surrounded by food and energy. It's just like, maybe you should tell your friends, hey, look, I want to hang out with you during my diet, but we just can't go to grilled. Maybe we eat maybe it's after lunch so you guys can eat and I'll catch up. Maybe we go like, I don't know, go-karting or something. I'm just giving you like an example. If you let your friends know in advance, they won't put you in compromising positions. Like if you're hanging out and they're like, hey bro, you want this donut? And all you're thinking to yourself is, yes, I really want this donut. In fact, I would rip it out of your hands and shove it down my mouth with no water because that just seems like the best idea possible right now. And I'm really hungry. And you go, no mate, sorry boss, I'm I'm on a bodybuilding cut, I've got to make some weight, or for a powerlifting meet, whatever your excuse is. I'm trying to get Stacey back, and so I'm going to get shredded. She might like me again. It wasn't because you're fat. I'm sorry. But yeah, the point is, tell your friends, and they might not put you in compromising positions. So that's always good. Okay, let's summarize. What are the take-home points of this entire discussion? Well, remember, this too shall pass. Your cut is not going to be forever. And so, but saying that, let's try and live in a way which is as easy as it possibly can. High protein, high fiber with sweeteners, and low calorie substitutes are a good foundation of a diet. Distract yourself with cool, immersive experiences, and keep your sleep in check.